J.K. Rowling is quadrupling down on her stance against the trans community. The more she gets called out on her transphobic views, the further it seems to push her. The latest controversy sees Rowling fumble the bag on opening a center for victims of domestic abuse. In this video, we're going to go over the latest chapter in Joanne Rowling and the mindset of transphobia, as well as the road so far. First, what's this about? A women's center. J.K. Rowling recently opened the doors of Bera's Place, a privately operated center for women who've experienced domestic violence. If you're age 16 or over and you've been a victim of violence at home, whether it was emotional, physical, or Bera's has a place you can go to at Newtown in Edinburgh. On the list of things that Bera provides support for, you can also seek help if you've been a victim of online abuse, including image-based abuse and revenge. The center isn't named after a Rowling character. Bera is the Scottish goddess of winter. She presides over the darker and colder part of the year, and in Scottish lore, she represents female wisdom, power, and regeneration. You can trust her to give you the support to last through the winter, and she reinforces the belief that the cold and dark times won't last forever. For some women who've been victims of violence from men, they'd rather not go to a place that's staffed by men. Bera's is a center that is 100% run by women. This detail is important. The center's website flat out says there are no centers like it that are run by women. This detail is very important. Rowling has long been using her Wizarding World wealth to fund philanthropic causes around the world, and she's always been sensitive to women's issues. This is a natural and somewhat welcome step from her. Now, there's a reason why we've been saying women that way. Bera's website makes it very clear that their center is for real women only. That's right, folks. J.K. Rowling has turned this philanthropic venture of hers as a way of advancing her trans exclusionary agenda by making it clear that only women assigned at birth are welcome. Trans women are, in Bera's opinion, men. And as we said earlier, the center is a male-free zone. Why on earth is she doing this? Well, she tweeted out that there's no such service in Edinburgh and claims women are crying out for one. Now, you might have paused this video to fact-check that claim, and you might have found out about the Edinburgh Rape Crisis Center. The thing is, it's not that Rowling is mistaken. Her problem with this center is that the center's director, Mridul Wadhwa, is a trans woman herself. According to Joanne's rather severe view on what makes a woman, this center cannot claim to be for women only. She also justifies excluding trans women from Bera's by saying that the trans women can just go to this place. If you're a cis woman, we suppose you have two options to choose from if you're seeking support in Edinburgh. That sounds like it's a net win for victims of domestic and abuse, but Rowling has simply served to inject unnecessary hatred and politics into that conversation. Oh, and it gets worse. Coming up, Rowling elaborated on where her head is at in a recent interview. According to journalist Suzanne Moore, Joanne opened the session by calling this the most misogynistic period of her lifetime. She expressed horror at the state of women's rights today compared to when she was 18. That would have been in the 80s. And the dream of advancing the feminist agenda hasn't played out. In fact, she thinks we've gone backward on women's rights. A big theme in the interview is that the political far left is the main opponent of women's rights right now. Their identity politics are a bigger threat to women's rights than even the evangelical right. In the views of both Suzanne and Joanne, what is often branded as transphobia is just women standing up for other women. While they both insist that they don't hate trans people for what they are, don't bother talking to them if you think that you can be trans on the inside. Yeah, we don't get it either. Rowling felt the responsibility to become the lightning rod and vanguard of this dimension of feminism because she was one of the few who can afford the collateral damage of this fight. She's fabulously wealthy, after all, and she thinks that she's investing her resources in a good cause right now. Bera's come up as well. It's worth noting that Rowling sells her crisis center as a place free of politics, except excluding trans women is itself a political choice. Let's grab our time turners to figure out how we got here in the first place. This all started 2 years ago when J.K. Rowling retweeted an op-ed that referred to people who menstruate. This is a common term to refer to people who have female reproductive organs, but may identify as male or non-binary. She sarcastically commented that there used to be a term for people who menstruate, before taking some ironic stabs at what the word could be. In a response to the backlash she inevitably received, Joanne explained that she thinks that we're trying to pretend that isn't a thing, and if isn't a thing, then same-sex attraction can't be a thing. Also, for Rowling and many other women, is something that has defined their lives to a considerable extent, and to vanish the concept of out of existence is to invalidate their lived experiences. Again, we don't get it. She went on to say that she respected the rights of trans people to live and conduct themselves in any way they liked, and she would march in support of trans people if they were being discriminated against for that reason. But she also shared an article written by a lesbian woman that described her experiences of being abused and silenced within the LGBT community. Back then, Rowling was a lot less willing to outright say that trans people were an out-and-out problem. It was 2 years ago, after all. Next up, the real declaration of Joanne's war came a little later. In a long statement posted on her website, Rowling explained how she came by her trans exclusionary views. She complains about all the threats she's received from trans people and trans activists, as she has steadily been researching these issues, both out of personal interest and as part of her Cormoran Strike novels. Finally, she dismissed the accusations that she was using her platform to direct hate toward trans people and their campaigns for rights. Going into detail on her motivations, she lists 5 reasons for taking such a firm stance on this issue. The first reason is that she supports many causes and organizations that are seeking to help women, and she has a feeling that trans acceptance is going to conflate with gender. Her second reason, on a similar note, was that as a former teacher and founder of a charity for children, she's observing the impact of this discourse on the topics of children's education and protection. The third reason didn't require much explanation. She's pro-free speech. The fourth was the one that's most personal to her. She believes that lesbian and gay people are being wrongly referred for hormone therapy and reassignment, and many who transition ultimately end up detransitioning. This whole ordeal is expensive for them, and it impacts their fertility and function. From there, she talks about how her existence as a woman has defined her life experiences. Now, this post marked a turning point in Rowling's status in society. Rowling used to be the queen of Hogwarts. If she had never written another book again and just focused her life and resources on promoting charitable causes, she would have gone down in history books as one of the most beloved authors ever. Now, that's what she thinks she's doing, but a lot of the world isn't on her side on this. The cast of the Harry Potter movies, including Harry, Ron, and Hermione themselves, have distanced themselves from Rowling's views, declaring their support for trans people and their struggles. So too did Eddie Redmayne and Catherine Waterston, the leads of the Fantastic Beasts movie. Loads of celebrities have spoken out against Rowling, including her friend Stephen King, who is apparently not friends with her anymore. It goes without saying that the fans aren't very happy about this either. A lot of the Harry Potter fandom is liberal-leaning, and Rowling's own liberal leanings were a big part of her appeal. To use a term that Rowling would probably sneer at, she has been well and truly cancelled. This has all left her and her Wizarding World franchise in a rough spot. Consider the fact that just this year, the 3rd installment of her Harry Potter follow-up series was sent out to die in theaters, with the 4th and 5th movies being canned. It's amazing how far someone can fall from grace in a span of 2 years. Finally, the more and more Rowling's old circle rejects her, the further right she turns. As the years have gone by and Rowling has lost her old standing in the community, she's become harsher in her views of trans people. There's a long distance between her supporting trans women but complaining about language, and her opening a crisis center for women who are very specifically not trans. In her conversations about Bera's place, she frequently lumps in trans women with men, meaning she doesn't even believe in the basic principle that trans women are women anymore. She's also included transphobic views in her books, while excluding herself, allegedly, from the Harry Potter 20th anniversary special on HBO Max. When you find her hanging out with people socially, they're now transphobic and generally right-wing figures. Those are the people who are now on J.K. Rowling's boat. It doesn't look like she's going to be turning back from this rabbit hole soon, but hey, at least you'll always have the Harry Potter books, unless you're boycotting them, in which case all you might have are the memories. That's it for today's video. What do you think of the policies at Bera's place? Do you think J.K. Rowling is onto something here, or is this just another statement on her political views? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one.